Good morning, survivors. It's Angie. Happy Wednesday. Now, today we're going to talk about something kind of weird, kind of interesting, but what is it that makes a narcissist afraid? What are narcissists afraid of? Let's talk about it, shall we? I think one of the narcissist's biggest fears is that you'll figure out who they really are. So they fear being found out. They fear everyone finding out that their false self isn't that person that they really claim to be. They don't want anyone to know who they really are because they don't really think they have a lot to offer. And even in some cases, when they do have something to offer, they're so insecure about their lives and themselves that they just don't. So that's, I would say, their number one fear is that the fear of being found out. That goes right in with their number two fear, abandonment, rejection. Abandonment and or rejection, because of course they feel like if you figure out who they really are, you might abandon or reject them. Narcissists don't like to be rejected, and if they feel that you've rejected them, they will react in a very unhealthy way sometimes, with narcissistic rage, narcissistic injury, etc., and inevitably you might find yourself pretending to be okay with everything the narcissist is doing in order to keep the peace. So that's one way they control you, actually. So while a narcissist might choose to, the way they react to rejection and abandonment, in addition to the rage, of course, is they have this huge fear that they're not good enough, which is kind of why, back to step one, where, or, the first thing they'll do, which react with anger and frustration. And that's their fear. Their fear is the fear of rejection, ultimately. If you reject a narcissist, they're forced to recognize that they have nothing inside of them. They're forced to see that, the hollow vessel that is them, that they don't have anything to offer. And again, even if they do have something to offer, they're so insecure on the inside, even though they seem incredibly secure on the outside sometimes. That's the issue. So, another big narcissistic fear is the fear of being made fun of. They don't like to be teased. They don't like, not even in good fun, they don't like to be criticized in any way, but the fear of being made fun of is something else, because even if it is just in jest or in out of just an effort to have a good time, narcissists will take it so offensively, be so personally offended by it, that they just have a really tough time with it. And of course that again will lead to narcissistic rage and narcissistic injury, and not always in that order. So I gets no respect. That's the narcissist's next fear. They fear being disrespected. I'm sure if you've been in a relationship of any type with a narcissist that you would understand what I mean. You've probably heard, "Don't disrespect me," or "You disrespected me," or something like that. And that again comes right back down to the fact that the narcissist's false self cannot handle it. Same reason they don't like to be made fun of, because the false self is so fragile that if you do anything that they consider disrespectful, which quite honestly sometimes is some bullshit, let's be real here, then you find yourself in that position. So and the fact is that when it comes to this quote-unquote disrespect, it's something that happens even when you're not disrespecting them. You might look at them the wrong way, or pick up the phone and say hello, and they're offended because they think that you're mad that they called, or whatever dumb stuff it is. Disrespect, according to a narcissist, can be regular behavior according to other people, so you really have to watch yourself if you have to deal with them. Another big fear of the narcissist is one we just talked about the other day, being ignored. When you get ignored by a narcissist, or when a narcissist gets ignored, they feel as though they are literally empty. They have no quote-unquote supply. So when they don't have the supply, they kind of, die a slow death. It's no good for them, but that is one way that you can make them stop bothering you. And that's because, quite honestly, narcissists, with their supply, that is literally how they define themselves often. So that's why when you're in a relationship with one, a lot of times they require your attention at the drop of a hat, whenever they want, no matter what you're doing. And if you don't give it to them, they feel incredibly slighted. And that's when you see the narcissistic rage and injury come into play. Exposure. That's another thing narcissists don't like, is exposure. They can't handle it when you try to talk about their abuse. They can't handle it when you try to tell them who they are, or tell anyone else who they are, because if you expose them as an abuser, then that could reduce their ability to get supply around the world, and of course it doesn't match the false self that they've begun to believe that they are. So Exposure is a big fear of a narcissist, and quite honestly, a lot of narcissists aren't even aware that they have anything to expose, and so when you do that, they're like shocked and angry, and once again, narcissistic rage and narcissistic injury come into play, and the drama ensues. Believe it or not, the narcissist is secretly aware of his or her flaws, because even though they don't really know it on a conscious level, on a subconscious level, they're very, very scared of their flaws. And so when you expose them, you're not only exposing them to the world, but you're also exposing them to themselves. A lot of narcissists are scared of getting old. That's another big fear of theirs. And whether it's because they're afraid their looks will fade, or if they're a cerebral narcissist, they're afraid they will lose their ability to be so intelligent. You know, getting old is a scary, scary thing for narcissists. So they don't like that. In fact, there's a group of narcissists who I would almost call juvenile narcissists, who don't ever seem to grow up, and who will literally tell you you're not cool enough, or you're old, or you're this or you're that, if you refuse to behave in such a way that is destructive to yourself, such as constant parties or constant craziness, and you know, if you insist on sleeping and stuff like that. And that's when they start to use manipulation tactics such as sleep deprivation and good stuff like that. Something to think about. Of course, like many people, a lot of narcissists are very afraid of death, whether that is a literal death or it's the death of their false self. They're scared to death of it. So, no pun intended. But yeah, that's the idea. They're scared of death. And, you know, who isn't a little bit afraid of death, right? But narcissists will sometimes live their entire lives based on this fact. I had one that used to tell me that death is an advisor, and so I have to live in this crazy awesome way which wasn't really that awesome, because this, you know, I have to live like I'm dying. And I totally get that and respect that. But the fact of the matter is that when it comes to a narcissist, their idea of a great life isn't always the idea of their supply, and then often that gets you stuck in a really bad place. So those are some of the biggest fears of narcissists. So what do you think? Have you ever experienced this type of behavior from narcissists? Have you done any of these things? Have you experienced their fear and watched how they react in such a negative and overwhelming way? Something to think about. All right, I'm going to wrap it up for today. I've got a lot to do today. I've got, I think, 6 client appointments today, plus I've got to do at least one more video for you guys. Let me know if you're enjoying those affirmations I've been posting each morning. That would really help me understand what I'm doing here and whether or not I should continue those. And let me know your thoughts on today's video. Leave your thoughts and ideas and experiences in the comments below. And if you have experiences that you want to talk about, or if you have questions or things I can answer for you in future videos, leave them in the comments. I'll let you know what I think. All right? All right, I'll talk to you guys soon. See you later today for another video. Have a wonderful day. And as always, thank you for letting me be a part of your life and a part of your recovery. And hey, thanks for being a part of mine. See you soon.